everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'll be cooking up one of my favorite Thai dishes called Pad Kra Prao Gai, and I'll be using holy basil. This is a special type of basil and gives authenticity to this dish. Traditionally it's made with this herb, and the dish that you will find at the restaurants tend to use the more common Thai basil. It's the more licorice tasting basil. This basil is different tasting. It tastes like guava and a little bit of oregano with mint at the end. So if you've ever had guava, and if you like me and you like guava when it's a little bit more crunchy, the skin of the guava has a little bit of a astringent taste to it. And that's the first taste that I noticed when I took a bite of this holy basil. The second taste I noticed was a little bit of aromatics from oregano. And then finally, at the end, I tasted some mint. So this is how I would describe how this holy basil tastes. So I'm going to cook it up, show you how I make it, and I'll be excited to try this dish for the first time using an authentic herb, the Thai holy basil or Kra Prao. Alright, let's get started. I'm excited. Pad Kra Prao Gai uses minced chicken. So we're gonna start by cleaning our chicken thighs here by taking off the skin, and this is bone-in thigh. In frugal cooking, I like to get the bone in. I debone it, and I use the bones for broth. Okay, I have the 3 chicken thighs deboned now. So the next step is to begin mincing it up. So what I like to do is I like to cut it up as much as possible, because then later I'm going to come in with a cleaver and start chopping it up into a mince. So if you have a food grinder, that will speed things up, and you can also use ground turkey in here as well, so that's also nice and convenient. It's time for the cleaver, and this is one way to grind up meat or mince meat. It's going to be a lot of chopping. It might be a little bit noisy. So before I start chopping, I like to separate out some of the meat because it can get a little bit messy. So I do them in small batches. And basically we just keep chopping until it's nice and fine. Okay, it's minced now, and make sure you don't over chop and turn it into paste. I'm gonna finish the other chicken, and then we'll get on to our next step. So just a quick food safety alert, make sure to clean your cutting board really good, since we just had chicken on there. You don't want to spread things around. Next we're gonna chop up some garlic, and this is the chestnut red garlic that was grown in the front yard. I like garlic, so I'm going to use quite a bit of it. Let's see, I think I'm gonna use 2 generous cloves. I'm gonna chop that all up, and I like shallots. This is the French Zebrun shallot. This was also grown in the front yard. Traditionally, when I look up the recipes, it doesn't contain shallot, but I like to modify it and put in some shallots. It's time for the garlic. What I like to do is I like to smash it up, and that makes it easier to take the skin off, and also it flattens it out so it's easier to cut. Okay, so we have a side-by-side comparison of Thai holy basil and regular Thai basil. I haven't looked up the pronunciation of Thai basil. In Thai, I think it's Oropa. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. You can see here the stem is purple, and the leaves are smooth, without any kind of hair or fiber velvet feeling to them. I don't know if you can pick this up on camera, but there's a little bit of velvety texture to it. The leaves of the Thai holy basil or the Kra Prao, the notches, when you look at it, they don't line up, so it's a very asymmetric leaf. So here are the two side by side. When you allow this plant to grow and it's happy, the leaves are actually bigger than this. This is probably a third of the size of its potential. So I harvested this a little bit early, so I wanted to point that out as to not confuse you if you're also noticing the size of the leaves. The flavor of this basil is probably going to be better tasting for many people, which is probably why the restaurants use this basil. Not only because it's more widely available than this basil, and this basil is probably not as widely available, but because it's not in demand, and that's my guess. But as far as authenticity, this is what is going to bring it to the dish. The last item for produce is a pepper. I have some bird eye pepper, some Thai bird eye peppers that will probably make it more authentic in the freezer. But since I wanted to use garden fresh ingredients, I have this Togarashi pepper. This is a Japanese chili pepper, and once again, Togarashi is Japanese for chili pepper. And this is the Mangjani variety. I'm not sure of its spice level, so I'll taste it and see if it's spicy or not. Hopefully it is, because a good pad Kra Prao guy is nice and spicy. Pepper, nice small slices. Okay, I'm gonna give it a taste. Hopefully I don't burn myself. Okay, this pepper turned out to be sweet, so I'm gonna have to resort to the bird eye peppers that are in the freezer. This is a Thai bird eye chili pepper, and this is the one that's commonly used in Southeast Asia to spice up things. They store well in the freezer, so I have a good number of them in the freezer, and I cut them up and use them when I need some spice in my cooking. So for the seasoning goes in some of these ingredients: a little bit of sugar, some oyster sauce, and the brands that you see here happen to be my favorite brands for each of the respective items. Some fish sauce, some dark soy sauce, and I've substituted that with some of this, what I call coconut molasses. So it's this really thick syrup that's made out of coconut. This bottle is a little bit on the expensive side, relatively speaking, because it's made with, in the ingredients, the purported ingredients, it's made with 100% coconut. So if you read the labels for the ones that are probably half the price, they have corn syrup or something else that's used as a thickening agent. So this is 100% coconut water. And then some soy sauce. Now it's time for the pad part, which is stir fry. Let's get in some oil. This is a olive oil blend. Garlic, shallots. I like to let them caramelize for a little bit. We got a little bit of a nice caramelization with the shallots and the garlic now. It's time to add in the chicken. I'm going to season with a good amount of fish sauce here. The fish sauce is a very critical component of this dish. If you don't have soy sauce or the dark soy sauce. You can use salt, but the fish flavor, the subtle fish flavor in this dish is what also makes it. Okay, we're gonna let this chicken sweat out a little bit and some of the broth cook off. While we wait for the chicken to sweat out a little bit, let's fry up our egg. Now that the egg's fried a little bit, I can get the spatula and go under and move the oil underneath the egg. Because right now, when it hits the pan, the egg is gonna stick to it. So wait for the egg to cook a little bit before you start moving it off the pan. Really quick to do, easy peasy, and let's get back to our chicken. Oh, I broke the egg yolk. Alright, a lot of that stuff's cooked off and we're starting to hear the sizzle once again. Stir it around to loosen everything up. And now we'll add in some of the other sauces. Just a touch of oyster sauce. Going for very sophisticated, subtle hints of flavor now. Some of this coconut molasses, and a teaspoon of sugar. In Southeast Asian cuisine, it's a lot of contrast of salt and sugar. We'll give this a stir. Alright, let's turn up the heat and add some of the peppers in here. Okay, I like to wait until the end to cut this up because these leaves evaporate quickly, and it looks like stems and all are used. So we'll just cut them up into thirds. This is probably a little bit thicker than we like, so we'll just leave that out. Okay, let's finish our dish. So the holy basil is going to be the last item that we add in here, and you give it a quick stir and turn off the heat. I heard some of you guys shouting, Brian, you need more holy basil. Brian, you need more holy basil. So I went and picked some more holy basil. I'm going to put it in here now. Thanks for the tip. Alright, let's stir it in there. And let's plate everything. Make it look nice. And we'll enjoy our authentic Kra Prao gai, or at least Kra Prao gai made with authentic holy basil. Our jasmine rice is nice and cooked, and let's put it together. Two years in the making, this pad Kra Prao gai. I've always had it with Thai basil, and I've always made it with Thai basil when I made it. And by happenstance, I discovered that it's made with a different type of basil, holy basil. So I finally tracked it down, was able to grow it, and prepare it today for you. I'm looking forward to tasting it for the first time. And then to complement this dish, I'm going to have it with some Thai iced tea. I recently discovered this bottle of Thai iced tea at the market. I've always had it at the restaurant, but now I can have this in my fridge and have it at home. Thanks for sharing in this excitement with me, and as always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.